So you've brought the seller and the buyer together. You've assisted in each stage of this transition process. But let's talk about the closing. What part do you play in that?
In the closing, which is a fun part, because by then everything's done. We've got we went through maybe the first draft, the second draft, and usually the third draft of our buy-sell agreement is our final draft. The buyer knows what he's committed to. The seller knows what's in the agreement, and I have over $100,000 in my buy-sell agreement, and it's 26 pages that covers everything that a buyer and seller needs to know about, what warranties the seller has, if the buyer has to do some redos on some dental work, who's responsible for that, who's responsible for some accounts receivable, some credits that maybe a patient might have, who's responsible for that. So usually at the close, everyone knows that everything's signed, it understands it, and we complete the whole deal. And then we do the fun part. Like I mentioned, I take the buyer and seller out to dinner. And we take photos of the buyer and seller shaking hands, and we each give the seller an 8x10 photo of that celebration so that he can put it on his wall and tell all his friends who sold the practice and who bought the practice. And it's very helpful for the buyer to have the seller in his reception room or in his business office, one of the operatories, and it breaks the ice with a new patient that he say, oh, gee, there's Dr. So-and-so, Dr. Smith or whatever, whoever is the seller, and it helps the patient get a bridge and a bond with the new buyer.